Jabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihara Gopi Janababa Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janababa Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajajanavandana Yashodanandana Prajajanavandana Yamunatira Vanatvari Yamunatira Vanatvari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihar Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihar Gopi Janababa Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janababa Girivaradari Yashodanandana Prajajana Yashodanandana Prajajana Vandana Yamunatira Vanatari Yamunatira Vanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janabala Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janabala Girivaradari Yamunan Yashodanandana Vrajajana Vrajana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Vrajana Yamuna Tira Vanatari Yamuna Tira Vanatari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Hari Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ramo Hari Ramo 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 Hari Hari Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shiva Jaya Radha Damodara Damodara Shiva Jaya Goranikai Jaya Goranikai Jaya Goranikai Jaya Goranikai Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Hari Bo Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Gora Hari Bo Nikato Hari Bo Gora Hari Bo Hari Bo Gora Hari Bo Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 9th chapter, 48th verse. Tvam vayo agni avanye vija ambumatra. Pranendriyani hidayam chid anugrihascha Sarvam Tvaeva Saguna Vigunascha Bhumam Nanya Tvavashti Apimano Vachasyan Nikutam Tvam Vaya Agni Avinir Vidya Ambumatra Pranendriyani Hridayam Chid Anugrahascha Sarvam Tvaeva Saguna Vingunascha Bhumam Nanya Twav Ast Apimano Vachasya Niruptam Tvam Vayu Agni Avinir Viat Ambumatra Pranendriyani Hridayam Chit Anugrahascha Swavam Tvam Eva Saguna Vigunascha Bhumam Nanyet Twav Asti Nanyet Twav Ast Apimanu Vachascha Nibruktam. Would anyone like to try that?
Vam Vayur Agnir Avanir Vyad Ambumatra Pranendriyani Hridayam Chiranugrahascha Sarvam Tvam Eva Saguno Vigunascha Bhuman Nan Yat Dvad Astyapi Mano Vachasa Niruktam.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to? Okay. We will skip the word for word and go straight to the translation. Translation. O, o Supreme Lord, you are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the objects of sense perception, the life airs, the five senses, the mind, consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything subtle and gross. The material elements and everything expressed either by the words or by the mind are nothing but you. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is the all-pervasive conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which explains how he spreads everywhere and anywhere. Sarvam Kal Idam Brahman. Everything is Brahman, the Supreme Brahman. Hari Krishna, nothing exists without him. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9:4, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina Machdini Salva Bhutani Nachaham Tes Avastita. I exist everywhere, and everything exists in me, yet I am not visible everywhere. The Lord can be visible only through devotional service. Tatra Tishtani Narada Yatra Gayanti Mad Bhakta. The Supreme Lord stays only where his glories, his devotees chant his glories. Om Meganantamarandasya Janajayakshaya Jaksho Omlitanyana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mahavistu Sampitanyana Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Padantitam Padantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Shrimad Bhakti Deva Swami Sramane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Prastakmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Titi Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tramine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivashesha Shundavadi Pasya Bhaktishatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hey. Good morning, everybody. I was just thinking, be careful what you wish for, because Krishna will give it to you. I was just thinking this morning, I wonder what it would be like to actually give class without having my notes there. And I had promptly forgotten them. So recall. Um, let's do this purport, this translation again. O Supreme Lord, you are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the objects of sense perception, the life airs, the five senses, the mind, consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything, subtle and gross. Material is anything expressed either by the words or by the mind are nothing but you. Um, early this year, um, Rubrik Prabhu did a Saturday Night Sangha where he showed the Nrsingadev Avatar movie. And those of you that were there, or those of you that have seen it, if you remember the scene where Prahlad has been thrown over a cliff into the water, washed upon the shore, lying on the beach, and is just understanding that again he's been saved by the Supreme Lord, and his heart just melts, and he's just praying to Krishna, why can't I see you? Why can't I see you? Um, and then Krishna appears to him, and it's done very beautifully. There's a very distinct heart pouring from Krishna to Prahlad, and it's done very beautifully. But then after that, Prahlad starts to see Krishna everywhere. Everywhere he turns, Krishna is there, in the rocks, in the grass, in the trees, in the sky. Everywhere he's surrounded by Krishna. So um, so here he's saying that Krishna, you're actually everywhere. The air, the earth, the fire, sky, water, everything that I can imagine, everything that I can say, everything that I can see, is you. So he's seeing the spiritual world because Krishna is in the spiritual world. Krishna is everywhere, and here because we have separated ourselves from him, we don't see Krishna everywhere. But Sri Prahlad is seeing Krishna everywhere. So how is it that he can see Krishna everywhere and we can't? And so in the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks to see Krishna's universal form, what does Krishna say in chapter 11? I think it's 54, maybe. Krishna says, you cannot see my forms. You cannot see this form unless I give you divine eyes. And so Krishna gives him divine eyes, divine vision to be able to see the universal form. So it has to do with our eyes. What is it about our eyes? What is it about us and our eyes in this condition that we cannot see Krishna everywhere? And there's one single word that talks about that, and that's envy. That anyone that is any trace of envy that we have is our instant bar from us to be able to see Krishna everywhere. Srila Prabhupada talks about this, not so much about the envy, but about the ability to see Krishna in a class that he gave in New York, November 5th, 1966. And he's speaking about the Brahma Samhita, the Lord Brahma's prayers to Krishna. So I'll say the prayer and I'll read a little bit about the purport. Pramanjana Churuta Bhakti Vilochanina Santa Sadaivya Hridayas Vilokayante Yam Shama Sundaram Achinta Gunasav Sarupam Govinda Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So this is Brahma Samhita 538. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shamasundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their hearts of hearts, with the eye of devotion, tinged with the salve of love. And the purport. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochena Santa Sadvai Hridayasho Vilokantaya. Now, people say that whether God can be seen, if anyone has seen God, yes, God can be seen. There is no doubt about it, but it requires some qualification. Not some, but one qualification. God is so kind that he does not require any material qualification. He does not require that you should be a very learned man, very beautiful, or a very rich man, or a king, or an emperor, or minister, or president. No, nothing of the sort. You can be anything, but only one qualification is required that you can see God. What is that qualification? Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochana Santan Saidaiva Hridayesha Vilokayante. That qualification is unalloyed love. That's all. One who has achieved that unalloyed love for God. Unalloyed love means without any tinge of philosophical speculation or fruitive activities. That's another subject. It requires great explanation, but unalloyed love means without any tinge of material color. That is called unalloyed. Even philosophical speculation or fruitive activities, even if it is offered to the Supreme Lord, that is not love. Love is above this. So if one can achieve that unalloyed love for God, with that I mean to say, magic wand, the eyes become eligible for seeing God. Parinanja Charuta Bhakti Vilochanina. And that eye is called devotional eye. Devotional. So Srila Prabhupada is very clearly stating that this unalloyed, untinged, uncontaminated, unconditional love is what gives us the qualification to see Krishna everywhere. And um, then the gopis are celebrated in Vrindavan because this is the love that they have for Krishna. Completely pure, completely spontaneous, completely 100%, 110% um, pure love for Krishna. And they can see Krishna everywhere. So what is stopping us from attaining this? What is stopping us from moving towards this thing? Is envy. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, Krishna qualifies Arjuna by saying two things. One, I am able to give this information to you, this knowledge to you, because one, you are non-envious and you are my very dear friend. So this envy, which is the 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 subtle the subtle bindings that hold us to this material world. What can we do about it? Well, there are so many ways in which we are held by this rope, and the first thing is to actually just recognize that this is the problem that we have. However it is manifesting, problem that we actually have is envy. Envy of Krishna being Krishna. This is Hari Kirtan writes in his journey into the Bhagavad Gita. He talks about as ourselves as Jiva Atmas trying to move the world so that it falls into alignment with our desires. Um, and this is kind of the epitome of we're trying to control that which is not in our control, a job that we are immensely unqualified for, and yet we insist on pursuing this ability to manipulate and transform and move everything with matter, physical, minds, hearts, so that we can enjoy. So this is one of the ways in which we are living our lives in this world, trying to figure out how can I best extract the most pleasure from all of the things that I'm doing, seeing, being, instead of how can I serve Krishna with whatever this is in front of me? How can I serve Krishna with this? And um, that takes practice. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to practice. We're here to practice loving unconditionally, giving selflessly, being 100% dedicated to re to rejoining ourselves, to reconnecting with Krishna in the way that he wants us to connect with him, not the way that we want to connect with him, but the way he wants to connect. He wants us to connect with him. Srila Prabhupada has often said that the closest that we can get to this unconditional, selfless love the closest example this is to this unconditional, selfless love that we can see on this planet is the love between a mother and a child. And if you think about that, that the mother is is looking after this child, not with any um, thought of, okay, when I get old, this I'm going to look after this child very nicely so that they can look after me when I get old, or they can somehow or the other um, do things for me. No, the mother is simply looking after the child because that's what that the love in the heart is forcing her to attend to all of the needs, whether it's waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to feed the baby, or sacrificing to make sure that the child has everything that they need, or even if they're really tired, making sure that the food is cooked nicely, that the child is eating nicely. So all of these, the way that we can think about how close are we, or are we moving closer to understanding and experiencing and exhibiting this love, is how do we, how spontaneously are we thinking about Krishna? You know, somebody, yes, did know on at the market, somebody brought me some flowers, and they were like these little mini English roses in a little vase. It was so pretty. And I remember thinking in my head, how can I, how can I, how can I offer this to Krishna? I'd like to take this to give it to Krishna. But in my head, I was thinking, okay, um, let me just quickly say a quick prayer, because it will look a little bit odd if I take the flowers and then just kind of just like put them down and not do anything with them. But I was thinking about that. I was thinking, how do we spontaneously think about offering stuff to Krishna? And as we, progress in Krishna consciousness, we do tend to find that things that we've done over and over and over again start to become second nature. So like get something and you immediately, say a prayer over it before you start eating it, or, you know, or there are people, I don't like shopping, but there are people that like shopping, and maybe they're going and thinking, oh, this would be nice on the altar, or Krishna would like this, or, this would really look nice if we made this into something for Krishna. So by force of habit, that is happening, that we are able to just to switch our habits from always reflecting on us to starting to reflect, on Krishna, on what can we do for Krishna, what can we do for the spiritual master, what can we do for devotees, and to have that be the first thought that comes into our head. To be anything other than ourselves is a great start to a sign to show that we're moving in the right direction. There were some other things that I know I wrote down that I can't exactly remember right now, but I do want to read from the beggar, Bhaktitirtha Maharaj's meditation on prayers on the Supreme Lord, because this particular meditation 11 from the first beggar is very appropriate, I think, for this. There's my dear Lord Nityananda. Okay, so this is meditation 11, my chronic disease. My dear Lord Nityananda, I have a most chronic disease. It is called envy, and it is very contagious. People unknowingly look at me and think I am a picture of good health. Little do they know how sick I really am and how dangerous my association with them could be. How is it that you have shown your mercy to others by placing them in complete ignorance or total transcendental bliss? With my limited knowledge, I desperately appeal to you, my dear Lord, and ask, Why am I so unfortunate, and what must I do? My Lord, my dear Lord Nityananda, coming too close to me, people will see the most selfish brute they have ever met. People come to me for help and guidance. I have nothing to offer. But being an expert thief, I take their kindness, affection, and love, and in return, I leave them empty handed. What else can I do? I have been passed over by you, dear Lord. Being 1,000 times more desperately in need, I call out to you, why am I so unfortunate? What must I do? I am afraid of everything and everybody because I am a fool, first class imbecile, pretending to be a scholar. I constantly look over my shoulder, wondering when someone will recognize the fool that I am and give me a big kick. You gave intelligence to so many of your servants, but as for me, you have given me neither the intelligence to know you nor the intelligence to fully ignore you. So I desperately appeal to you, my dear Lord. Why am I so unfortunate? What must I do? Most people think I'm quite competent because I'm able to anticipate situations and see ahead to complications before they occur. Little do they know that my attentiveness is due to fear. I scrutinize every situation carefully to see if there is any inconvenience or danger to me, being ready to run at a moment's notice. Anyone who's associated with me for any length of time will develop phobias of a most serious nature. When you blessed your servants with courage, you noticed that I was too insecure to handle such a gift. Now I have been given the position of a general, leading people whom I can neither protect nor guide. So in desperation, I appeal to you and wonder, why am I so unfortunate? What must I do? My dear Lord Nisananda, you summoned your army and I joined them. You put on our uniforms. We put on our uniforms as you looked on, smiling. I smiled too, happy to have the chance to represent you in the battle against the forces of illusion and degradation. I looked ahead, anticipating the victory, anxious to wield my transcendental weapon. However, to my surprise, I found that you never arranged for me to have sufficient weapons. How was I to conquer without them? You knew what a puffed up fool I am, knowing I would have claimed the credit for any success you deliberately kept me from the front line. So I desperately appeal to you, Lord. Why am I so unfortunate? What must I do? The thing that really spoke to me about this particular meditation is that we actually have the answer to that. Why am I so unfortunate? And but the most important part, I think, of that meditation is what can I do? Because it's in within our hands. We have free will. Krishna has never taken our free will away from us. That's the actually the only thing that we have in this world is our desire, our free will. What do I want to do? So this unfortunate disease of envy can be seen in how we interact with everyone around us. And to do something about it, it is with us to be able to do something about that. As once we've recognized that that's the struggle that we have. I once asked my mentor, Rajula Prabhu, about envy. She said it's the only thing that cannot be dovetailed in Krishna's service. Envy cannot be dovetailed in Krishna's service. You can um, dovetail everything else, even anger or or laziness, even everything can be dovetailed into Krishna service, but not envy. The only thing you can do with envy is to root it out and and destroy it, transform it. Um, and that's really part of the reason why we associate with each other is to help us root out these deep-seated inathas, these deep-seated um, obstructions that are keeping us from Krishna. So one of the ways that I was taught, she taught me to deal with envy is to go and serve the person that you're envious of. Do service for that person. It may seem like contra-indicative, but actually, that is the solution. It's like the opposite of envy is compassion. And so to be compassionate to somebody, to want to serve somebody, to help pull that weed, that deep rooted weed out of our heart, is the only way. We have to confront it head on. I remember Bhakti Maharaj said once that if you are not happy when a devotee walks into a room, then there's something wrong. That you have to be happy to see a devotee. And it seems so simple, but when you think about it, it's like how many devotees, just just a thought um, um, process, just think just for a few minutes. If there's any devotee that would walk into a room that you would not be happy to see, and think about why. Why would I not be happy to see somebody that is trying to dedicate their life to the same supreme personality that I'm trying to dedicate my life to? Um, and that in itself is very revealing that there are things in our hearts around other devotees that we are not dealing with, we're not um, um, rooting out. No, I'm not saying that you have to love everybody like, although Bhakti Maharaj is saying that in his community, for community, um, not I wouldn't say rules, but ways to be is to see everyone that you meet in the same way that you would see the person that you love the most. That is the ideal situation that we are supposed to be moving towards. I'm not there, um, but I can recognize if there is something in my heart around the devotee, and I will try to see how can I mitigate that? How can I make that right? How can I fully move towards fully loving every devotee that I meet? Um, just acknowledging the fact that they are just trying to serve Krishna in their way, trying to serve Krishna, and how can I um, help them do that? Even if it has to be done from a distance, even if I have to give them love or give them support or whatever, give them compassion from a distance, because I have not been able to figure out how to navigate that relationship, and at least try to do that. At least try to put out into the world um, love and compassion and help. And that, what does that take from us? What does that? How does that diminish us to put out love and compassion into the world? Okay, so I think I'm going to end there. Um, I'll read the translation one more time, and then we can open up for questions. We have about 15 minutes or so for questions. O Supreme Lord. So again, this is Srimad Bhagavatam 7:948. The translation, O Supreme Lord, you are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the objects of sense perception, the life airs, five senses, the mind, consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything, subtle and gross, the material elements, and anything expressed either by the words or by the mind are nothing but you. So, are there any questions or ways in which you have found to deal with um, rooting out whatever anatta you find is in your heart? How are you actively trying to to deal with that? What is it that you're doing in your day-to-day ex experience um, of Krishna consciousness to move forward? So if anybody would like to share anything.
Brilliant class, by the way. Thank you so much for your time and coming, and it's very sweet, very inspiring. I've got so many thoughts just dominoing in all directions. Just thank you. There are definitely so many wonderful creative ways. But I just want to sign off here. I just want to acknowledge and appreciate your class and your inspiration and your part of this community. It's very important that we all come together. Like your Guru Maharaj says, in love, it has to be in love. If we're never going to make it, we're never going to even get to the door. We're not going to be let through the door. Like the four Kumaras, not going to happen. So thank you. Thank you. Let's keep churning.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Thank you, Kali Prabhu. Actually, it's interesting what you just said because I just had a thought that was, we can become so fearful in this world that, oh, what's going to happen? Are we going to have food? Are we going to do this? What's going to, is there going to be a third? We're actually in the third world war right now. So is it going to escalate? You know, um, so many different things. And yet we actually have access to the most powerful force on the planet. We all do. It's love. Love is the most powerful force on this planet. How are we using it? How are we acknowledging it? How are we boosting it? And love for Krishna is is higher than everything else because that is our eternal um, that is our real position. Everything else is temporary, it's artificial, but this love that we have as the Jiva Atma for the supreme soul, the Paramatma, the supreme soul, this love is the most powerful thing on the planet. And so this is why all of the great acharyas, all of the Mahajans, all of these great examples that we look to for for examples for ways to see, are we moving in the right direction? All of them are fearless because they understand this. Once you are in Krishna's embrace, there is nothing else to fear. In fact, the greatest fear, as Srila Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, is to fall into a life, into a species, to take birth in a species where you would not be able to remember Krishna. That is the greatest. That's the greatest fear. So, we need to really understand that love is very powerful. And how are we embracing that and experiencing that? Thank you. So that if there's anybody else that would like to share something. There's some questions in the chat. Let's see.
Hare Krishna, good morning, Mataji. It is so wonderful to have you here giving us class. And you can't see it from where you're sitting, but the sun is coming through the window behind you and it just makes you look radiant. It's it's really beautiful. And that is Krishna. I was just thinking that when you said how, first of all, thank you for reading from Bhakti Tirthamaraj's book and that meditation. To think of envy as a chronic disease that I can actually spread. It's an amazing way to look at it. And that I could also be spreading love of Krishna. Like I have a choice. I'm heading in one direction or another. And those are some of the things that I do is to remember that Like when you talked about the flowers, I was thinking that when you have gratitude, and that's one of the things I try to work on, and acceptance, that those are ways that I move toward more Krishna consciousness. So looking at those flowers and just having gratitude for just the magnitude of Krishna's creation, like the beauty that he puts, like the flowers are blooming now here in South Jersey, and there's so many colors. And I love dahlias because there's so much symmetry in each bloom. And if you don't look at that and see Krishna, what do you see? You know, it's like, who could make something that gorgeous that decides to come back every year and grace us? You know, and so that kind of gratitude. And then acceptance, when you talked about if I'm not happy to see a devotee, it's a lot for me to really realize that not a blade of grass, okay, moves without Krishna's sanction, that nothing in this world is out of order. It's in his divine order. So if there is something or someone that I'm finding it difficult to accept or that I'm envious of, then that's my work. That's been put in my life for a reason, for me to grow, not for the other person to change. And I practice often when I am, quote unquote, upset or agitated by someone or something else, to say, Krishna bless them and change me. They don't need to change. The world doesn't need to change. My attitude needs to change. I need to change. And so please bless whatever they are, the situation, but let me see what you see in me so that I can be changed, you know? And so that kind of acceptance and that kind of gratitude are how I try to practice just a little bit more every day, inching toward Krishna consciousness, toward more Krishna consciousness, and remembering that it is exactly that. Inch by inch, it is a cinch, yard by yard, it's hard. I can only do this teeniest bit every day, but that's huge. That's leaps and bounds for me, for me. So thank you so much. So many wonderful points in your class this morning and so much to meditate on for the rest of the day. Hare Krishna.
That is beautiful. Bless them and change me. I love that. I'm definitely incorporating that. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Jambavati Prabhu, you have your hand up.
Good morning. Hare Krishna.
Very well.
Thank you for class. And I also echo the appreciation for what Mother Leela Kishore said about, bless and change me, or, bless the other person, but change myself. I'm remembering a workshop that Maharaj gave once. I wasn't there, but I've always remembered the concept where he asked everyone to recall uh, disagreement uh, that perhaps they had with someone, and what happened, and then he said, I want you to think about that same situation and consider what it is that you could have done different. And that made a big difference in terms of how you think about that situation and that person, as far as that goes. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that I also echo your example of unconditional love. And I guess that the highest example, as you were saying, is the love between a parent and their child. Um, that is the ultimate reality of unconditional love in this world towards another human being. But also, it reminds me very much of Guru Dev's um, principle of community living, the one that you mentioned about consider the person that we love the most and extend that same love and attention to everyone. And so then you think about, well, what does that really mean? And an example that I come up with, which happened to me many decades ago, is I had a career mentor, and we were at lunch one day in this cafeteria. And as the servers were, fixing the plates, serving the food. Apparently there was something that my mentor really liked. And when it came time to serve him, he said to the cafeteria employee, pretend I'm your son, you know? And so, of course, when he said that, that meant, or I've come to mean, or I've come to understand that that meant, give me a little bit more, because I like this particular dish. And that's exactly what she did. She gave him a little bit more than what amount of serving she was giving to everyone else. And then you think about today, or I think about today, what does that really mean to consider the person that you love the most and give them the same care and attention? Well, it means very practical, and it gives us very practical means and behavior to manifest that mood, which of course is if there's somebody in the community that needs something and you know that you can help, then you help that person. If there's someone, um, well, like like Mother Kalki, if she were your mother, how would you treat her? What kind of attention would you be paying? Would you check up on her? Of course, if it was your mother. Um, so we have so many opportunities, I want to say, of really imbibing that particular community principle that Maharaj gave us. And I know I miss a lot of those opportunities to do that, but I'm endeavoring to do more of really imbibing and manifesting that particular principle. And thank you so much for a very wonderful and practical class this morning.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you. And what you just said reminds me of something. Was in Baltimore this past weekend um, for the Ratha Yatra, but actually, I really wanted to go see S.B. Keshava Maharaj. That was the real reason that made me, head to Baltimore, because he gave class Sunday, the Sunday program at Baltimore Temple, but he was also at the Ratha Yatra, and I had a chance to see it and talk with him then. But also, I got one of his books. Well, I got three of his books actually, and in one of the books, it was saying this, something that I've been meditating on. He said, "Don't look for the problems in the opportunity, but the opportunity in the problem." And I've kind of been thinking about that like you were saying, there are so many opportunities that we have to practice love, to give love, to share love, to exude love, but we don't take them, not all of them. And one, we have to ask ourselves why. And second is that, Krishna is always giving us an opportunity to come closer to him. And even if we don't understand that this is actually an opportunity to come close to Krishna, just go ahead out of just take a step of faith and just listen to your heart, listen to your intuition, and just go ahead and do whatever it is that you wanted, that you are being asked to do, even if it's at an inconvenience to you, even if it's not exactly going to be comfortable for you, because as Krishna's is giving you the opportunity to pull another one of those weeds out. So many of them, can't even count them. There's so many. And get a little bit closer, as Lila Kishore Prabhu says, and a little inchworm closer to Krishna. And Krishna is waiting to embrace us as we make that. Okay, Prabhus, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to my Guru Maharaj for helping me to share something of value with all of you. It's almost time to greet the deity, so we'll do that right now. Hare Krishna. Om Vishnu Hare Krishna Krishna Bhutale Shubha Tile Samtani Stay Krishna Parastam Shubha Om Vishnu Hare Krishna Bhutale Shubha Tile Samtani Stay Krishna Are you here for a while? Are you here for a while? How long are you?